Hello and welcome to a special edition of In Depth with TommieMedia. I'm Justin Amaker. Election day is less than a week away, and voters across the country will choose to either re-elect President Donald Trump or to elect former Vice President Joe Biden to the White House. Today, representatives from St. Thomas's College Republicans and College Democrats clubs sit down to talk about the issues at stake this presidential election. I'm joined today by Daniel Galkowski of the College Republicans Club and Spencer Lavelle of the College Democrats Clubs. Thanks so much for coming in, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Each representative will receive one question about three major topics: COVID-19, the recent confirmation of Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court, and climate change. At the end, they will have the opportunity to briefly share their overall thoughts about each candidate. Let's begin with the first topic, COVID-19. And Daniel, we're going to start with you. The White House website lists a number of things that President Trump has done to slow the spread of COVID-19, including, according to the website, taking early action to cut off travel from China, building a COVID-19 testing system from nothing, and enacting mitigation measures to slow the spread. What do you think has been effective and ineffective on how the Trump administration handled the pandemic?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me and giving us the opportunity to talk about this. Really, we've had this unprecedented pandemic where we really didn't have good information coming. The information coming out of China was tough for us for a long time. The information coming from the World Health Organization, they tweeted on just January 14th that there was no human-to-human transmission. So really the unprecedented amount of testing that we've done, we've completed 140 million plus tests in the United States. Compare that to the rest of the world, the closest next, I believe, is India at about 100 million. So there's really, what the United States has been able to accomplish in just these short months is really robust in testing. And I mean, you're starting to see just spikes in Europe, spikes across the globe. So really, we don't know. There's a lot that could be talked about. Hindsight's always 20/20. But really what we've seen is unprecedented leadership throughout this pandemic.
Okay. Spencer, for you now. How do you think the Trump administration has handled the pandemic, and what would you like to see continued or changed under a Biden administration?
Sure. So obviously it's very difficult. People definitely have their mind of their own, and I do think that America is very individualistic, so it can be very difficult to kind of make people stop spreading it. It can be very difficult to keep people inside. However, all of that spawns from the leadership of a country. When you have a role model who has been infected himself by the virus, but then also claims that he is stronger than ever now, people kind of get in this mindset that it's all over, it's fine, there's nothing to it, I guess. However, at the same time, when I have had close family members and close friends who have had family members pass away from COVID-19, it's that kind of mindset that I carry with me every day when I think about the spread of the virus and the effects that it's having on people. And so I can't say that it's completely the fault of just the president, because people do go out of their way to try and have parties, and that does spawn. He also has been holding rallies against the ideas of a lot of the public. So that has caused several outbreaks for COVID-19 also, which has not helped the spread either. So.
Okay, let's move on to the next topic about Coney Barrett's recent confirmation to the Supreme Court. And Spencer, we're going to start with you here. Justice Coney Barrett was confirmed to the Supreme Court on Monday on basically a party line vote of 52-48 in the Senate. There has been talk about the Democrats packing the court if they gain Senate and White House control. Biden also said in an interview with 60 Minutes that he wishes to appoint a bipartisan commission to propose changes to the Supreme Court. What are your thoughts on these issues, and what are your thoughts on the confirmation?
Sure. So I think, personally, I disapprove of the election of Coney Barrett. For one, it's a little unprecedented in a time a week before the election, for one, to have elected or inaugurated the new Supreme Court member. When 4 years ago, they wouldn't elect the Supreme Court member 9 months before the election. So I do think that it's a little hypocritical for them to have gone out of their way to do such a thing and push that election. At the same time, a lot of the views that pass on by Coney Barrett are a little, push America in a little more of a digression. I think kind of going back to a lot of people are worried about women's rights and LGBTQ rights and moral and ethical standpoints that I think that we may be going backwards on rather than forward. So I think that there is a concern that these things may be overturned again. Things that RBG herself, was very concerned about and very forward in pushing herself. So I think it's, all the forward progress that we made kind of gets pushed back with the election of Amy Coney Barrett.
Daniel, same question for you.
A couple points of clarification there. During her confirmation hearing, Amy Coney Barrett did talk specifically about the Obergefell case, and she did say that it was going to be something that would have had to be passed most likely from Congress in order to overturn that. Additionally, this isn't all unprecedented. There were nominees that have been confirmed in shorter time periods. I understand the hypocritical argument. However, there is a big difference there. The Republicans have control of the presidency and the Senate. Both are chambers in which help nominate and then confirm Supreme Court nominees. 4 years ago, it was a Democrat president and a Republican-held Senate. My argument there is shoes on the other foot. This is parties playing politics. We don't like it, which is why I do appreciate the idea of Joe Biden setting up a Supreme Court or judging a new system to look into that. Just because we have seen in recent years, both sides, but especially on the Democratic side where they just refuse to vote for anyone that was nominated by a Republican president. You still see 60 plus votes for the Democrat nominees from Republicans, but it just seems like one party's unwilling to vote to confirm someone, even as qualified as Judge Barrett. I think that anyone that had watched the hearing, you can disagree with her policy issues, but if you are unable to take away that she has the intellectual, she meets the intellectual standard to be on the court, if you're unable to see that, it's going to be tough reasoning with you on a lot of different issues, in my opinion.
Okay. Let's move on to our next topic, the environment. Daniel, we're going to start with you here. According to Trump's campaign website, as president, he has rescinded many prior Obama-era environmental regulations and withdrawn from the Paris Climate Agreement. What impact do you think those decisions had on our country?
Well, the Paris Climate Agreement I want to talk about briefly because the Paris Climate Agreement, we joined this agreement in which the United States is paying, I think, about 10 times more than China and India are contributing to the Paris Climate Accord. The United States emissions were dropping significantly, where China and India's emissions were growing significantly during this period. So it really was asking the American people, if you guys want to subsidize China and India to keep their carbon emissions going up throughout this period, or if we can focus more of our time and energy on the mainland USA. But additionally, fracking, and in terms of manufacturing jobs too, the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement was struck, and that provided a lot of new resources, especially to dairy farmers that they didn't have access to before. I think it was some $2.1 billion more resources that they have access to in the Canadian markets that they just didn't have access to before. And I think that is an issue that should have been brought up in the campaign more, as it was a big issue that Joe Biden and Barack Obama ran on in 2008 and were elected on, and they did nothing to repeal NAFTA.
Mm-hmm. Spencer, for you now. Biden appears to focus more on the environment and climate change than Trump does on their respective campaign websites, with Biden calling it a climate emergency. Biden's campaign site promotes a 100% clean energy economy and net zero emissions no later than 2050, and plans to, quote, take action against fossil fuel companies and other polluters who profit over people. What are your thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. I do just want to preface by saying the information that you said was factual. America does, they were paying more than any other country in the Paris Accord. However, we are one of the global superpowers of the world. And I talk a lot about like leadership and role models. but also that precedent comes with so much power and influence that we have on other countries. If we don't set that influence on other people, then how do we expect them to continue and go forward with the same ideals? I'm not saying that America needs to be, the influence on everything, but because many other countries look to us to hold that power and to influence them in so many ways, I do think that, maybe that extra money was worth it. In terms of Biden's political campaign and Trump's as well, I think that there's a lot more that Trump could do that Biden is doing himself. And so seeing, again, going back to America being, the role model, I think that Biden's plan definitely helps us provide that influence and provide that power. When we step up to the plate and we put in those environmental standards that Biden has planned, then I think that we show the world, this is happening. This is an environmental crisis. We do have a sustainability, social responsibility, and our world won't go on unless we, continue to, push forward these acts that, will help us do so, even if it costs a little more. So.
Okay. Now, in 1 minute, uninterrupted, starting with you, Spencer, what do you wish to tell voters about your candidate as we approach Election Day?
Going forward, I truthfully believe that Biden is the candidate for America because we have such a divisive political system right now. People are completely divided, and I think that Biden, in a sense, provides that continuity between people. He is a little more moderate in some senses, and I do think that we need to, at the heart of our social reform, come together as a people, and I think that's really important because we are so divided. We live in such a binary society, and that's really difficult to overcome, and I think that Biden really helps us come together in a sense. So I do hope that people see that first and foremost, even before, all of his different political campaigns and
Daniel, same question, 1 minute.
Yeah, what we've seen in the past 47 months from Donald Trump is action. We have seen action on trade with USMCA getting passed. We have seen action on foreign policy, ISIS. We don't even mention it anymore. That was one of the major topics in 2016. Foreign policy with Israel. We've seen countless successes. We've seen successes with the Trump tax cuts and Jobs Act, which gives the average family of four an extra $2,000 in their pocket. What really worries a lot of conservatives about a Joe Biden presidency is we believe that the left has taken, the far left has taken such a hold on him that he really doesn't grasp these moderate positions that he used to hold in 1990. We really believe that Donald Trump has promised, he's made promises that in the campaign he's really kept to them on a lot of issues that we've seen, and we really are continuing to see the economic growth. We saw 33% GDP growth today, and we can see that continue if we reelect him.
Okay. Well, thanks you two for coming in today. Yeah. Don't forget to vote and stay tuned to TommieMedia.com on Election Day for live coverage of the presidential and other elections. With Daniel Galkowski and Spencer Lavelle, I'm Justin Amaker. We'll see you next time we go in depth on Tommy Media.